Okay, I believe we're on, Doc Narro.
All right. Good afternoon, PSQ Nation, and welcome to the fifth and final day of the Quality Leaders Bootcamp. It's second season already, and of course, it's still part of the celebration of the PSQ's 53rd anniversary. And we are very much fortunate that we are joined today by one of the quality lead of our Technical Hub for Educators Network. Give it a hand for Dr. Florante Poso Jr. Hi, Doc Don.
Hello, good day
Yeah.
everyone.
Hi, Doc
Yes,
Don.
Doc Don, yeah. And we are also, of course, joined by our other board of trustees of PSQ. Of course, here with me is Dr. Ray and Sir JG. Okay. So, Sir Don, could you share us something on what you do on a day-to-day basis on your job, on your office?
Actually, as the program director of the Civil Engineering Department of FEU Institute of Technology, during this pandemic period, so since it is all online, so mostly monitoring the faculty, the students, the classes, and for the 2 years actually we had applied several accreditations. So we're busy with that. And just last week, we applied for re-accreditation, recertification of the ISO. So mostly office works and preparing lessons for our Canvas. And we are on track with our schedule of upgrading the different modules, the video courseware for all of the subjects that we have in the civil engineering department, and all of which are all online.
Yeah. Uh, Sir Don, now that of course we are hoping na post-pandemic na ito, no, napatapos na
Opo.
talaga yung pandemic. So
Yes.
now that it is post-pandemic, what do you think are the survival methods or the techniques that your institution had done successfully in order to keep the operations running?
Actually, we are upgrading our system, which we call the miles or the mastery individualized learning enhancement system. So it is a learning management system that we created during the pandemic period. And our plan is actually just to upgrade with that. And we are now on the first stage of upgrading all the video courseware because we will still be using the Canvas platform, whether we will be going back to the face-to-face setup. So it will still be a hybrid. And with that, we are thinking of a higher level of video courseware. So all of the faculty members are busy now as regards to the script writing of all of the video courseware. So we are aiming with that higher level. And since we are gearing towards with the application of the different accreditation, not only local accreditation bodies, but also with that of the international one. So I think that's the post-pandemic activities that we wanted to meet within this. Actually, within this year, we are aiming to fulfill all of those targets of the university.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for that, Doc Don. And it's good to hear that you are continuously upgrading your system, including the LMS
Yeah.
that you've been using. I believe that would be a great platform for our students, our customers, definitely in the university. And then I know that you are also aware, Doctor, in terms of the concept of the Industry 4.0, right? That it has been there for quite some time. Even before the pandemic, we've seen a lot of companies that embrace that concept, the emerging technologies in the era of Industry 4.0. And during the pandemic, we've seen a lot of companies that really accelerated their implementation of the different platforms, different technologies, emerging technologies under the Industry 4.0. When it comes to your organization, Doc Don, I'm sure you started also looking at that perspective, right? Like all of the things, maybe during the pandemic, you've switched to from the regular face-to-face, you've switched to digital. What are what are the common or the usual challenges that your organization faced, and how were you able to overcome some of the challenges in terms of implementing this digital or these digital technologies?
Yeah, as regards to the Industrial Revolution 4.0, one of the challenges when it comes to the faculty, to the faculty and the employees, one of our challenges is actually how we can convince all of the faculty in terms of understanding what is IR 4.0 and how we are going to implement it. And actually in the department, in my department, specifically in the civil engineering department, as regards to research, because we are encouraging them always to conduct research, present, publish research. And even before the pandemic period, most of the theme when it comes to research presentation and conferences, they will always actually include IR 4.0. And it includes actually inputs as regards to simulation, computer technologies, and so on. So there are a lot of course, diverse ang ano namin, yung mga faculty and employees. So there are, of course, there are in the bracket na mga medyo nasa taas na, di ba? Yung may mga ganon. Walang problema when it comes to the younger ones kasi yan yung mga ano nila, yung talagang mga gusto nilang mga topics as regards to IR 4.0. So ang ginawa namin is actually full of trainings. So simulation techniques using artificial neural network and so on. So of course, in the first place, they will always say no. Parang it's not already our cup of tea or hindi na namin yan yung parang iba na lang yung gagawin namin and so on. But later on, they were all convinced. And just last year during the International IEEE conference, all of us, I already convinced all of my faculty to present 11 papers and it was accepted and it
Wow.
was and so like that. So doon ko nakita na it's just very easy pala, no? Basta importante you just show them an example of what are the latest technology. And as regards to the students naman in applying IR 4.0, we make sure that the content of the syllabus will actually include computer softwares. That's the reason why even during the pandemic, itong 2 years, the FEU Institute of Technology actually acquired several licenses ng mga softwares for them to know the use of yung kung ano yung meron sa industry na ginagamit. Because I have been working for 13 years abroad as a design engineer, pero yun yung kulang from the academic side. Ituturo sa'yo by theory, but in the real world, you will be using softwares and so on. So siguro yun yung nagiging part ng challenge ngayon, and of course, it will talk also a lot of money for the university. Pero yung yung confirmation and yung eagerness ng school at ng department to implement such. So I think yun yung Well, in fact, naman medyo nasa na kami, higher level naman, I think, in terms of applying it to the different subjects ng civil engineering curriculum.
It has already progressed significantly, most likely, right, Doc Don? Like it has matured in terms of the people embracing the concepts of Industry 4.0, and also you mentioned earlier, like Doc Don, in terms of people adapting to IR4, and you mentioned that maybe those ones that have been there for several decades ago would be harder for us to maybe to onboard in terms of these technologies, and it would be easier for the younger ones. But I've also seen in other universities that some of the older ones, they are actually so easy. It was easier for them to embrace the technologies maybe before they had prior experience, and some of the younger ones were actually the ones resistant to the digital technology. So
Opo. May mga ganong cases naman talaga. Actually, the first time that I use softwares in simulations, especially during the pandemic, kasi I'm handling research subjects. So the students cannot go to the laboratory for testing, for sampling, hindi sila makakapunta sa field for sampling. So what we do is the use of simulation techniques using mga artificial neural network, fuzzy logic, and so on. But the problem is hindi siya na-introduce before pa. So we have to rush up with the different trainings, and we have to invite mga expert in terms of the use of software simulations. Pero kinaya with that short period ng kahit ngayon, and they are enjoying, even the professors. Actually, I don't even know before the use of those neural network softwares, the MATLAB softwares. Pero nai-enjoy ng iba, so sabi ko I have to try also kasi kailangan ko rin mag-conduct din ng research for myself at kailangan ko rin pakita sa lahat na kailangan i-enjoy din natin. But of course, yung mga mga nasa younger generation, yun yung napansin ko, sila yung mas eager to learn the technology. So kasi kami na halimbawa at my age bracket, mas gusto ko yung research that we just do it in the laboratory, mix the concrete, then test it, that's all. But then with the latest technology, ang dami pa lang mga magagawang prediction models, magagawa mo using the network system. Mapipredict mo na using different, kasi as of now we are conducting research with DOST, as funded ng DOST, which is the use of natural fibers in concrete. So aside from mixing it in the laboratory, we conduct also analysis using simulation to predict the mixture of concrete, and that's how we implement it in the department, and I make sure that all of the faculty are involved in that. So na-enjoy na rin while doing in the actual laboratory and at the same time applying IR 4.0 in all of the research. In the academe naman kasi yung IR 4.0 is mostly applicable to research. Kaya yun yung talagang best application namin. And we make sure that na a-attain yung goal na yun, yung target na matutunan ng lahat ang IR 4.0.
That's good. And a lot of machine learning technologies have been explored onto, in the academe.
Opo.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if I may segue on that, Doc Don, no? If we're looking at, because if we're looking at sustainability from a long-term standpoint, I think this is connected with what you have mentioned, because if we're looking at by 2030, it's either your organization will just swim or sink, right? So we have really to adapt to the changing environment, to the ever-changing and evolving world. And how do you future-proof your organizations for it to be able to be adaptable and at the same time competitive in the market?
Actually, the vision of the institution is actually to be one of the top 5 universities in the Philippines. And actually, we just during the pandemic, we realigned the mission and our activities to really meet the vision of the institution. One of the target that we wanted to meet is actually apply for accreditations for not only the accrediting bodies in the Philippines, but also international ones. So we already applied in the ASEAN University Network accreditation, and we are gearing towards the PSQ accreditation via Washington Accord. And with that, because we believe of the quality education that will actually waterproof in terms of whether in the coming years that the company will sink or swim on that point. So we should be ready, and we all agree, even the management agree, that having accredited by accrediting bodies, like in the Philippines, we are already accredited. The College of Engineering, we're accredited already by the PTC and the PSQ, and we are still applying for other accreditations. And with that, we do believe, because if you are accredited, if the program is accredited, it means that you met the requirements for quality. Even for the ISO, we always maintain the record that the university is always accredited. So with that, both the different levels in terms of teaching and learning should be met in terms of quality standards, not only for in the Philippine setting, but we are gearing towards an international accreditation.
Yeah. And the way that I'm hearing here, Doc Don, the good thing I think that we can get out of this is really how do we align the strategic objectives or your goals, and then how it would pan out in terms of the work that's being done, like the accreditation, the training that you have mentioned a while ago. So everyone is on the same page and on board in terms of how do we get there in terms of our strategic objectives to make it more sustainable.
Yeah, actually, when we because we had just revised the mission and vision of the university just a year ago during the pandemic, because during the pandemic we are all online. We all have the time to think, to plan it, and so on. So with that, we invited the different stakeholders, and we invited some people or authorities that we can actually ask for inputs, especially from the industry. And with that, because we want to align, number one is we are we are looking into how our curriculum, not only for the civil, but of course all of the programs in FEU Institute of Technology, will address the gap, because it is always the problem. That is always the issue, the gap between what is being taught in the academe, in the four-cornered classroom, and what is really needed in the industry. So that is actually one of the main point wherein we are trying to strategize how we are going to be called, okay, FEU is really into quality, is really meeting their targets. So the strategy is actually based on the inputs from the stakeholders. We just grab all the important inputs from the government agencies. We had invited from the government agencies. We invited also partners from the private companies. So with that, actually we are now realigning the objectives. So we are still on that stage that we wanted to meet. Although the mission and vision and the project and the program objectives has been already crafted. And for just to give an overview of our strategies, so we are actually gearing to that of meeting the highest quality standard that the academe should have. So that's why I am focusing on accreditations, right? Then, of course, we cannot deny the fact, because engineering has a board examination. We always look into the records, and just last week, actually, we have a top notcher for the EE. We landed 8th place. So last
Nice.
November, we placed 4th place for the civil engineering, and we are expecting more to come. So the strategy is there. Number one is to actually give our graduate the sense of the the quality that they need, in which if after graduation they will land a job and they will be licensed engineer, not just by after graduation it's just okay, sige tapos na, di ba, aalis na sila, but
Yeah.
hindi nagtatapos kasi we have to extend also. And part of our mission and vision of the department, that within 5 years we are still monitoring our graduates if really met the expected outcomes na set ng school.
Yep.
And congratulations for that,
Very,
Doc Don.
yeah.
And then with all of the things that you've been doing, so you're seeing the fruition, and I believe that's a great thing. Oh, by the way, before I hand it over to Doc Narro, Doc Don, I'm just curious, have you explored PQA? Because that's something that you can also explore on, and I know that some of the leaders of FEU had been trained on PQA.
Actually, actually, I've heard a lot, because our senior director, they had attended trainings of PQA, and the head of the quality assurance department. So they are actually looking into what are we going to do in terms of how we can meet the requirement in terms of quality. So sila yung busy ngayon, and they
Oh,
are actually
that's
conducting.
amazing.
I think they are now conducting a series of trainings, and they are having, may mga nakaset silang schedules for parang in nag-start pa lang on info dissemination para sa lahat ng ng faculty and employees of the school.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
that's very nice to know, no? Kasi that's one way of becoming sustainable, Doc Don. So,
Oo.
in relation to Sir JJ's question on sustainability, Doc Don, no? How is your organization responding to the call to action? Like for example, the environmental action, the carbon footprint reduction, and then how do you develop this connectivity with the community in terms of your CSR, Doc Don?
Actually, I can talk in terms of our activities in the civil engineering department because one of the specialization that we have is water resources and environmental engineering. So we make sure that all of the courses that is in line with water resources and environmental engineering in the content syllabus, it should always include all of the different laws of the land, not only, but of course, not only in the laws of the Philippines, but international laws in terms of environment. So with that, we make sure that all of our students are actually informed in terms of how they are going to protect the environment. Another thing is actually because in the academe, what we can always do is info dissemination campaign. So we always conduct trainings. One of the activities of the department is we extend because we have experts also in environmental engineering in the department. So what we did is we extend our knowledge and technology to our fellow civil engineers. So which is the Philippine Institute of Civil Engineers. We always conduct almost monthly we conduct trainings, and one of the topics that included in that project is actually more on environmental concerns. So even the student organizations, they always include environmental issues sa kanilang mga trainings and webinars. So especially nowadays na nag-pandemic, mas dumami yung mga webinars because you can do it any time as long that you have speakers, no? For our students, we invite always speakers na talagang yung authority to talk about environmental issues. So yun yung mga activities na kahit paano I can say that we help in terms of addressing environmental concerns through information dissemination. So yun yung parang nakita kong part na lang din namin ng as civil engineers and future civil engineers, yung mga students na makita nila na naging part sila doon sa pagtulong sa pag-solve. Although kasi when it comes to mga ganyang environmental problems, hindi siya yung in a one click masosolve mo eh. Kasi sometimes
Exactly.
it is connected to social issues, may mga ganun talaga eh. Kasi connected din siya dito sa kung ano-ano na lang mga sa community, mga problems sa community. Sa school naman, we make sure talaga na kasi number one, what we can help is yung i-extend natin yung even just to turn off the aircon, yung mga simpleng ganon. So just to give an information to all of the employees, not only yung sa mga faculty, but the whole community ng FEU, yung mga simpleng bagay. Kasi it will just start there eh. Di naman pwede kaagad na, tapos na. So what we also have in our building is actually in the rooftop, may mga kanya-kanya kaming mga inaalagaang plants, no? Na nandoon. Although there are workers, but we enjoy viewing the roof deck of the building na parang ang ganda-ganda tingnan kasi puro halaman. So in that way lang napaka-simple. Kung gagawin ng lahat, di ba? So kung lahat na lang ng lahat ng companies may mga ganong mga activities, so it will actually end up na talaga masosolve yung mga problems natin.
Yes, that is true, no, Sir Doc Don. And you mentioned also, Doc Don, that it is connected also, no, with social issues. So, can you comment, or do you have any good or best practice when it comes to diversity and inclusion that is being implemented in FEU Institute of Technology? Because that's a hot topic right now.
Oo nga eh. Nitong pandemic kasi, what we did only is yung sinasabi kong mga info dissemination campaign eh. Kaya lang the problem is itong sa webinar, yung audience limited eh. Kasi ang mabibigyan mo lang ng or if you want to talk, it is only to the students, to the professionals who have laptops, makakapaggamit ng Zoom or makakapaggamit ng Gmeet or any platform. But before the pandemic, what we did is actually kasi very active yung mga student organizations ng FEU Institute of Technology. May mga ina-adapt silang mga barangays all around Metro Manila, yung sa area namin from Tondo, Sampaloc area. And doon nila ginagawa yung mga mini talks about mga environmental issues. Kasi kailangan mo lang talaga ipaalam sa community, and you have to go there para makita mo talaga kasi even just yung mga simpleng mga waste segregation problems. So, kailangan ang students ngayon matutunan din nila yung involvement sa community. So, they have to be there. Kailangan makita nila kasi hindi pwede na puro lang salita puro lang talk, all of which are theory. So, yun yung mga activities before the pandemic. So, talagang pumupunta sila doon. Then, although ang environmental na topic or yung mga environmental concerns sa mga activities nila is just part of, kasi hindi naman yung totally, but it is part of their activity there. No? Kasi may minsan, sinasali na lang nila yon kung meron yung mga assistance silang binibigay sa isang community, sa mga bata, and so on.
Yeah, and I think before that, Doc Ray, I think one thing that I could really, I really appreciate this, Doc Don, is really more of the practical ways on how each and every, I guess, listeners now can apply that in their company, right, or in their organizations. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to be grandeur, but even without a big budget, right? So those examples are really good, really best practices. That's something I think everyone will appreciate. So thank you for sharing, Doc.
Thank you.
And those are the ones that actually work, JG, right? In terms of the down-to-earth, simple ideas. And I would subscribe to that idea that you mentioned, Doc Don, that if all of the people can do like simpler things, at looking at what are they doing like on a daily basis, even not just at school but also in their homes. I believe we can really achieve the sustainability goals that we've set from not just from UN, but from each organization. I believe we'll get there. So we'll have a more sustainable world for our future generation. And talking about that, Doctor, you mentioned earlier, right, that there's a lot of webinars that happened right during this pandemic, and I'm going to talk about in terms of the ways of working, because it has changed a lot for the past couple of years, and we've heard, like say for instance, for the past months, we've heard about the concept of the hybrid work arrangement or work model. What's the current arrangement or work arrangement of FEU at this point? Have you gone to the face-to-face classroom teaching already, or are you still 100% working from home or working from anywhere?
We are actually applying still the hybrid one. But for all the laboratory courses, it is already face-to-face, because it is based on the memo issued by CHED. So all the students now are going to school when they have the laboratory classes, and even of course the professors are now coming back to school. So we are going back to the 8-hour work per day. So parang bumabalik na kasi, binabalik na siya, and we are actually on the stage of planning to offer all of the courses to be face-to-face already. But students has still the option to have it online. So dalawa pa rin. But as per my experience, kasi we are now we are starting the third trimester of the school year. So parang ang daming students na pumapasok, kasi especially the second year, kasi sila yung students na hindi talaga nakapasok ng school. They enrolled college first year, diba? Tapos second year na ngayon. So halos sila yung nandoon sa school to attend the face-to-face classes, kasi mas ngayon ay enjoy na nila yung paggamit ng mga equipment and the field work. So, for example, the surveying classes. So, na-enjoy na nila. They are conducting now surveying field works. And sa concrete laboratory, they are now mixing concrete. And pag pinopost yung mga pictures in the FEU page, parang naiinggit na yung iba. And the next week na class, dumadami na yung attend. Parang nai-encourage na, sige. So, ang problem lang yung mga nasa provinces, kasi of course they will not be going back to Manila just to attend the laboratory class. So kaya medyo ano pa siya, hybrid style pa. So the professor in the classroom, while explaining the laboratory, some are actually attending the face-to-face classes, pero may mga camera na actually there are 3 cameras in the room para klaro din doon sa mga nag-online na mga students. So we're going back with the 8-hour work, and the faculty, the employees are now actually the non-teaching staff, they are coming to work na, and they go back now yung sa biometrics na you have to be there at 7, then go out at 4. So medyo kahit din ako, kasi I am just here in my province because of the election, pero before that naramdam ko na yung traffic from my home to
that's a
school,
signal.
Medyo dumadami ng students.
And that's a good thing, lockdown, right? In terms of like going into the classroom, especially that most of the courses are into engineering, and the more that we need the time for laboratories, right? And what do you think, in a way, lockdown, in terms of the better version of the hybrid, how many days, like say for instance, do you think would be better for the students to be in the classroom, and how many days should be doing the virtual?
Actually, as per our scheduling right now, because it is the first time that we implement the face-to-face. So what we did is we just schedule all the laboratory courses within a maximum of 2 days. So, for example, it is just Monday and Thursday, so that they will just be coming to school Monday and Thursday. So the other days will be allotted for the lecture classes. So if, for example, if that year level will be having 3 laboratory subjects, so it will be scheduled on the same day, so that it will be there all throughout the day just for the laboratory subject, to attend that laboratory subject. So the problem, of course, is for regular students that they will enroll laboratory, and at the same day they have lecture, so they have to rush going back home to attend the online setup. Although the school had allotted areas wherein after their laboratory, for example, after their laboratory class, they will be having the next class, which is the lecture, and it is online, so they will just stay there to connect with the internet and attend the online class with their professors. Even the professors who are handling lecture classes, they are still in their home for the online. So they are not yet attending classes in the school is actually not yet compulsory. Only for those professors handling laboratory, because they should be there.
That's good. And then I was imagining, Doc Don, when you mentioned earlier, when it comes to the face-to-face, right, I'm doing the laboratory work, the students as well as the faculty members, but some of the audience or some of the students are still doing the virtual, and you have the 3 cameras installed in that specific room. I could imagine how difficult it is to manage that hybrid.
Yeah, actually, we have a trial before the start of the 3rd term. We did a trial run a few weeks before they start, because the installation of the camera, because if the professors will be only using one laptop, actually he or she cannot actually give a good view of the experiment. And for example, if it is a field work, for example, surveying, because it is not in the classroom, it should be in the field, or actually we do it in the FEU main campus because it has a large area that the students can do the surveying work. So there aside from the professor, there are assistants to do to actually hold the camera or another gadget, another tablet to have a clearer view, because you have to actually we have that's the reason why we allotted a minimum of 3 cameras aside from the laptop of the professor, so that the students attending online, he can have the full view of what is happening in the classroom. Actually, from the start, it's very hard. It's very hard because before they start of classes, the professor will set up all those things, and it is attached to a certain main computer. So what they will be doing is he has to be on time, 30 minutes or more before the scheduled class, and turn on all the gadgets, turn on all the camera, and you have to include also those gadgets in the Zoom, because we are using the Zoom platform. So that's the first thing na parang dun sila medyo nahirapan sa una. Pero later on, medyo okay naman, and all of the laboratories, we have laboratory assistants. So sila yung mga nagsiset up before the classes. And sa ngayon, medyo smooth naman yung flow ng pag-conduct ng laboratory classes. That's the reason why we are planning. May plans na we are applying for additional subjects, not only the laboratory, although CHED hasn't yet issued parang another memo for that. Pero since binibigay naman sa academe, sa institution, yung decision kung ano yung sa tingin yun, importante na talaga siyang i-face to face. So hoping na magtuloy-tuloy yung situation, na mababa yung cases and nasa alert level 1 lang. So maybe by next school year, we'll be having the face-to-face classes.
That's good, and it's a good thing that they were able to adapt, Doc Nom, because I could imagine maybe in the first the first instances that you did that hybrid model, I could imagine that you will be the instructor or the faculty member will be looking at the cameras at the same time. You will be looking at the Zoom, the comments in the Zoom, and then also attending the actual people in the classroom. And I believe Doc Sands from Laguna University, she mentioned that they're calling it as HyFlex. Is it the same thing with you in your own organization, Doc Narro? HyFlex, hybrid flexible learning. So that's how they're calling it now.
Yeah. But we have a different term. I will not mention the terminology of what we are using. Because, Doctor, for your information, I am from National University. So I'm the head of linkage of National University. And yeah, it's really difficult. But right now, since I am heading linkages, all the meetings are conducted now in person. Kaya, but we have an arrangement of 4 days in office, 1 day at home. So sabi ko nga during the last session of this interview sa ating ibang interviewees, wag naman sanang mag 5-0. So sana it's still 4-1. Sana there's still work from home. So we'll turn it over to Sir JG.
Yeah, I think Doc Don, I'm very interested and curious as well. You mentioned about SHED, you mentioned about some of the memos that are being issued as well, but at the end of the day, it's really your decisions, your organization's decisions. But any other support, or I guess from a regulation standpoint from the government, that that's something that they need to do for us to be able to support this new setup, this new kind of ways of working in your organization?
Actually, there are, based on the memo of the CHED, there are a lot of documents to be submitted. So we prepared it last year pa kahit nung nasa alert level 3 pa ata tayo noon. So kasi we have to be ready. Yun naman ang importante palagi. So we prepared a lot of documents, mga requirements and so on, kasi yun pa rin yung yun pa rin yung mga requirement ni IATF. So even at present, kasi sa contact tracing, so we have actually ang sa IT department, they created parang mga programs on how we do the contact tracing, saan pumupunta ang bata, sa lahat ng mga classrooms and so on. Kasi we have to submit it to CHED and IATF, no, yung mga the requirement, and the LGU to the City of Manila. So, yan yung mga yan yung mga nire-require naman ngayon. Then, of course, before, when the CHED memo was issued, ang kasi doon, talagang nakalist yung mga subjects. So for civil engineering, ito lang yung mga subjects. So what we have to submit is paano gagawin yung setup na yon na magiging face-to-face, tapos magiging hybrid and so on. So we submitted different mga guidelines na gagawin ni school. So yun lang naman as of now, yun pa lang din naman yung, or actually we are expecting a new memorandum sana na sabihin na lahat na. Pero ang sagot lang ni CHED is ang institution na ang bahala as long that you follow yung mga protocols na gagawin and hindi siya overcrowded, ilan yung mga required number of students. Kasi at present yung challenge lang din with the face-to-face is scheduling. Kasi number one is, for example, before the laboratory can actually cater 40 students, but now it is only 20. So with that, 20 lang yung papasok. So paano yung mag-exceed ng 20? So what will happen is it is an additional load to the professor, and it, of course, pagdating sa side ng management, may something na impact yon in terms of cost. So yun yung kailangan i-prepare din ni management, ni FEU, how we can handle doon sa pag-reduce ng number of students na allowed in the classroom sa laboratory.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sir JG.
No, I think the way that I'm hearing it, Doc Don, is you mentioned about in terms of the requirements coming from CHED. You mentioned about how you balance in your organizations, right, in the FEU, and how can we comply, but at the same time, how we can ensure that the protocols and the safety of our students. So I think that's something that everyone should also be aware in terms of how we balance those requirements, not just from a compliance standpoint, but really ensuring the safety of our students.
Yeah, actually, of course, pag nag-submit ng document, it is just a document, no? Sasabihin lang doon, okay, 20 ang student na makapasok, then ito yung mga gagawin. So, ang ginawa ni FEU is actually kung ano yung nakasulat sa document is we have to implement it in the classroom. Number one, yung ventilation. Second, yung mga alcohol dispensers and so, tapos kung may pagpupunta sa clinic, kung anong mga requirement, kasi yun yung mga ni-require ng dati to be submitted ng CHED tsaka ni IATF. So although there is no assurance kasi dati na the CHED ba magvi-visit, si IATF ba magvi-visit sa school to check those things, so wala namang sinabi sa ganon. So pero ang ginawa pa rin ni FEU is to make sure from the very first page ng document is it will be properly implemented. Kaya sa number one, sa scheduling pa lang, talagang nag-ready si school na there will be a cost impact to that. So okay naman yun talaga sa management. It has been agreed, and of course series of meeting halos every day na lang yung meeting pag may magiging problema, tapos may mga changes, tapos ang mga markings, number one, kasi cost ang sa paglipat from sa pandemic yung magiging face-to-face na, it will talk a lot of cost sa and syempre kung ikaw ang nasa management side, talagang sasabihin mo parang sandali muna, maghihinay-hinay muna tayo. Pero with that, ang maganda lang naman is pag ang management is very supportive na in terms of implementing the guidelines. Kaya sa ngayon, although hindi pa naman ganun talaga kalaki yung number of students na coming to school, at least we are sure na talaga na i-implement siya properly from the very point na yung student nandoon na sa entrance ng school, no, from from kahit yung mga visitor kasi ang dami ng yung mga visitors din lalo during the
Yes.
enrollment last week. So mas gusto ng parents, gusto ng mga students na hindi na online. Although online pa rin dapat ang enrollment, but they actually want to go to school So ang daming mga i-fill out pa rin na mga forms. Then the students are still required to present their vaccination cards. They have to submit it sa registrar yung mga requirements. Dati nga may mga requirements pa pati pa yung mga health card. Pero lately tinanggal na rin yon as long na may mga ang parents may PhilHealth and so on. So the most important requirement is yung vaccination card, and as of now naman lahat naman na comply ni FEU, and even the employees and the faculty 100% vaccinated. Yun naman yung mga importante. Then all of the laboratory properly marked, full ang buong hallway, may mga markings siya kung saan ka lang dadaan, then yung mga alcohol dispensers and so on. So nababantayan naman so far.
Yes, that's very great, Sir Don. That's a great initiative. You have anything to say, Sir JG? Go ahead.
No, I think it.
Or Sir
I think, yeah, Dr. Ray.
I think I'm good. Dr. Narro, I was supposed to say that, organizations they have to do like a lot of balancing act, as mentioned by JG earlier, and I think I really commend the FEU for doing that. And I believe, Dr. Narro, we have come to an end of our interview with Doc Don.
Yeah, of course, at this moment we can give our takeaways before we end this interview. So for me, my takeaway is of course how diversified and how inclusive FEU has become from pre-pandemic. Of course, we're all inclusive na there, pero yung naging diversity and inclusion strategy ng FEU when it comes to their activities during the pandemic is really, really commendable.
Yeah,
Okay,
on
Sir
my
Gigi?
end, absolutely, Doc Narro. And for me, what I could get from the session would be as a takeaway, it's a continuous reinventing and reimagining how we can really operate as a business and how we can continue or continuously serve our customers, the students and the faculty members, just to ensure that everyone is safe. At the same time, we are delivering that learning outcomes to our dear customers, the students. JG.
Yeah, I think on my end, I think, Doc Don, you mentioned a lot of good things here. Coming from us, even though I'm from a different industry, it's something that perhaps I can adapt some of those, what you have mentioned, right? How do we connect to our strategy? How we look at the practical things around the implementation part? And at the same time, how do we comply with our government, right? In terms of the regulations, in terms of the requirements, and not just about the compliance, but also how we make ensure, or how do we ensure the safety of our students? So with all those, I think combinations of what you have mentioned, these are really best practices, something that each of our listeners here can really adapt to those ideas and thought bubbles. So thank you so much, Doc Don.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that has been Dr. Florante Poso, our Technical Hubs lead for the Educators Network. So reminder to our PSQ Nation, all right, you have to complete the 5-day session before the Secretariat of PSQ will issue the Certificate of Participation as a proof of your attendance to this activity. So that concludes, guys, it's been 5 days now. That concludes our 5-day session for this PSQ Quality Leaders Bootcamp. So parang nung first day lang nagsimula tayo, okay? And then now we've reached day 5 already. Doc Ray?
Yeah, I'm so thankful. I'm grateful to all of you who supported us. From the day one up until today. And thank you so much for always supporting PSQ all through the years and since 1969. And thank you for being with us. And to those who are not PSQ members yet, please feel free to connect with our secretariat and please be with us. This one, Educators Network, this is one of the hubs under the PSQ Technical Hubs. So be with us and be part of the Technical Hubs. So this is one of the newest programs that we have in PSQ. So thank you so much. JG, do you want to say thank you to our members and
Yeah.
viewers from around the globe?
Yeah, I think you mentioned already, Doc Ray, Doc Narro. The technical hub is just one of the exciting things that will happen in the future in PSQ. So we're continuing to reinvent. We're continuing to serve you with new things, new tools, new technology in terms of how we make it a little bit more practical, as I mentioned a while ago, but at the same time, something that is applicable in your organizations. So thank you so much for joining us, and I guess continue to be a partner with PSQ.
All right. Thank you, PSQ Nation. Until the next season of the Quality Leaders Bootcamp. Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye bye. See you around, PSQ Nation. Happy
Bye.
anniversary once again.